Let's check out this next video. We got some true crime going on here. This is He Did Something Evil to His Teacher by Jack Neal. N-E-E-L. Lovely.
My name is Jack Neal, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, where we cover all things horrifying,
I've never been to your YouTube channel,
disturbing, and morbid. In today's video, we have 3 stories of students who killed their teachers.
Oh, Jesus.
The cases gradually get more disturbing. If you haven't already, make sure to murder that like button, or else. Let's get into.
Oh, I like how the like button got highlighted there when he said like.
Look behind you.
What? There's
October
a green screen behind me.
2013. What? Halloween is fast approaching, and the halls of Danvers High School are filled with the excited chatter of its students. Everyone's in good spirits as they go about their day.
It's almost Halloween,
Everyone except 14-year-old Philip Chisholm. Philip's a new face in Danvers, Massachusetts, and he's having some issues adjusting.
Dude, I was in Massachusetts by then. Look at that. I was in Boston, though.
After moving away from his hometown in Tennessee. He's a quiet kid, but not exactly what you call a loner. In the short time he's been here at Danvers High,
so he
he's
might
already made
shy?
a couple of friends and joined the soccer team. However, the stress of his parents' ongoing divorce is taking a toll on him. And he seems particularly quiet as he takes a seat in Colleen Ritzer's classroom.
You know how yesterday I was talking about how a lot of the times the problem isn't the person, the problem is their parents? Or their lack of?
24-year-old Colleen is new to Danvers herself. She's worked here as a math teacher for about 2 years now, but has quickly become one of the students' favorite teachers. She's actually passionate about what she teaches and has a rare talent for making sure kids can easily understand the concepts she teaches when dealing with difficult problems or equations. She's the kind of teacher that wakes up every single morning super fired up and ready to go that extra mile for a struggling kid and wants nothing more but to make a difference in their lives.
Oh boy.
The bell rings and she asks one of her students to stay behind after class so they can chat for a little bit. Colleen has a knack for picking up on which students need a little bit of extra help, and the new kid, Philip, seems like he could really use it. Another student drops by to visit her favorite teacher and overhears their conversation. At first, everything seems perfectly normal. Colleen asks Philip if he misses Tennessee, however, he gets upset.
Thank you.
Really upset. She smoothly transitions from the subject, which appears to calm him down, but soon after, the other student notices Philip mumbling something to himself. Colleen gets up from her chair, and the school security camera catches her exiting her classroom and walking down the hallway before waving to someone and giving them a big smile. Then, she disappears into the bathroom. The footage seems normal, wholesome almost, but it begins to feel a bit strange when you realize she won't be alive for much longer. Seconds later, Philip slips into the hallway and follows her. He's been wearing a red hoodie all day, but for some odd reason, he decides to change into a blue one. He pauses just long enough to pull his hood up over his head and puts on a pair of gloves. The CCTV video from inside the bathroom clearly shows the moment he walks in, but the attack itself occurs in a blind spot, hidden away from the camera's watchful eye. But that doesn't mean nobody saw it. They just didn't know what they were looking at. 11 minutes pass by and another student walks in and glimpses briefly to see what appears to be a naked woman in the bathroom. The student, completely unaware of the horrible things happening before her eyes, assumes that she simply barged in on someone changing and rushes back into the hallway. Philip leaves immediately after, and it's at this point that Colleen Ritzer is on the brink of death.
Wait, so did this girl not notice him? Like, she notices her. I guess he was hiding in a stall or something? Usually these stalls in the US are like zero privacy stalls. It's kind of weird.
Now, we can't be sure exactly what happened in that bathroom, but what we do know is it was brutal. Philip thought he'd planned the murder pretty well, similar to most teenage killers, but what he'd failed to think through was the whole hide the body in evidence part. He attempts to hide his face from the camera as he walks out of the building, which only makes his guilt more obvious. He disposes of Colleen's clothes before heading back to her classroom where he grabs his backpack and her purse. He dumps her bag in the recycling bin before heading back to the bathroom and seeing a friend of his along the way. They'd actually made plans earlier that day to hang out at the soccer field, but Philip had never shown up.
Moral of the story, don't be from Tennessee.
Friend stops him and asks what's going
Shit.
on, and later tells investigators that Philip was covered in sweat and looked absolutely terrified. Philip then wheels the trash can into the bathroom and puts Colleen's body inside. He puts on a ski mask, rolls the trash can out of the building, and stashes her in the woods behind the school and partially covers up her body with leaves. When police find her, the horrific extent of her injuries brings many of them to tears. Her neck's been cut several times with a box cutter, and there's evidence of recent sexual trauma, likely with a foreign object. A note lies next to her body reading, "I hate you all."
The kid was miserable because of his parents' divorce, likely suffering a lot more. He saw somebody that looked happy, and he decided to kill her. This was a crime of envy. And again, the perpetrator, this kid. The problem, his parents. Be born in Europe, we had way fewer serial. This is not a serial killer thing. It's just isolated cases.
Armed with the overwhelming evidence of his guilt, police apprehend Philip Chisholm and quickly put him on trial, where he claims that Colleen said a trigger word, Tennessee, which sent him into a sudden murderous rage.
No fucking way.
It's a pretty hard story to buy, though. Someone that kills in the spur of the moment probably isn't going to premeditate with multiple changes of...
It's not because of the fact that this is... It's the culture. It's the culture. And here, okay, this completely changes this, because on top of everything, this kid is blaming trigger words. This is American culture. This is American theater kid, the extremely hypersensitive cultures. You know who I'm going to blame? I'm going to blame the people that have given the N-word so much power. On principle, it's the same thing here. He's blaming it on the teacher saying the word Tennessee. Just like somebody would blame the person, oh, she said this word and I didn't like it and therefore I went apeshit and I killed her. That's not okay. But you gave the word way too much power over you. And because of that now...
of clothes, gloves, and definitely...
Let's see the rest.
Mask. Given that he's underage, Philip can't be sentenced to life in prison under Massachusetts law, so instead he's convicted of sexual assault, armed robbery, and first-degree murder, receiving a 40-year sentence. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm not quite sure if the sentence matches the crime. Here we have a 14-year-old kid with a working knowledge of morality.
They gave that word a lot of power by using it for evil. No, they gave that word a lot of power by being terrorists. The KKK is a terrorist group. I don't care what people say. And then everyone decided to keep them as legitimate as they were once. Because there was a point that the KKK was a legit terrorist organization. Now they are a shadow of their former selves, and people still give them the power that they so desperately claim they want them to not have. That's my point here. That's my point. Words don't automatically matter. And that's a big thing that you need to understand. Words can matter. But it's not usually the words that matter. It's everything around them. And everything behind them. People who would have been in the KKK back in the day are just in different groups today. Well, yeah, there's always going to be terrorists. There's always going to be terrorists. But in this case, in a lot of these cases nowadays, a lot of this is simply verbal. A lot of this is simply verbal. Nowadays, a lot of the interactions are merely verbal. And if you give individual words way too much power, you end up with situations like this one.
Committing a crime that was both premeditated and grisly in nature. Then we have Colleen. She was a kind woman with an open heart. She had dreams of making a real impact on her students, and this had just...
Yeah, and he just said something. The crime was premeditated. So him saying that she used a trigger word was not the reason, was an excuse. He thought he could blame the teacher using a word. the word had nothing to do with it. But the culture behind it gave him reason to believe that he could use that as an excuse. Or that's probably just verbal. Plenty of racial violence going on around the U.S. Yeah. And one of the main reasons why it doesn't happen so many other places, because not as many other places are as multicultural as the U.S. Europe up until recently. And it's happening. It just happens, yeah.
Recently become a reality. There's really no limit to how many futures she could have shaped or how much brighter her students could have shined through her love, empathy, and guidance. A few months before her death, Colleen posted a tweet that summed up her life better than I ever could. No matter what happens in life, be good to people. Being good to people is a wonderful legacy to leave behind. While Colleen's life ended under the worst possible circumstances, that will never become who she really was.
Mentally disturbed.
The legacy her students and loved ones remember is one of genuine kindness, warmth, and compassion.
Or he was mentally disturbed and never received mental health. He needed it because you got to pay an arm and a leg for it. Yes. He was mentally disturbed because his parents were getting divorced. And my parents got divorced when I was like 7 years old. And it was brutal on me. It was insane. It took me a long time to get over it. And yeah, as I've said many times, the problem isn't the person, it's the person's parents. While you're in the middle of a divorce with a kid, you can tell that either the kid got negligible mental health, and in the US, yeah, mental health can be very expensive, especially if these guys move to Massachusetts. Whew. However, by law, you are required to have insurance in Massachusetts. By law. In Massachusetts, you have to have state law that you have to have insurance. I know because I had it. That means he could have had, like, if they took him to therapy, it would have been more affordable. Considering my parents, I must be really fucked up and not even know it. There you go. It takes a lot to break cycles, yeah. But a lot of the times, the problem isn't the people, it's the parents. A lot of the time, or the lack of parents. So, yeah, no. Brutal, man. Brutal. First story. Let's go for the second one. Let's see. Story number 2.
It's November 3rd, 2021, and 66-year-old Nohima Graber is taking an afternoon stroll after a long day of teaching Spanish to high schoolers. She regularly hikes through Chautauqua Park after school lets out, but on this particular walk, she disappears. A few hours after the beloved educator and mother of 3 is reported missing, the police find her body in the park covered with a tarp, a wheelbarrow, and some railroad ties. They determine that—
Okay, hang on. In what order? Because do you have any idea?
Covered with a tarp, a wheelbarrow, and some railroad ties.
Yeah, in what order? What order are we talking about here? Because this is a very open-ended thing. Like, what position was the wheelbarrow in? How many of the? Okay, I'm focusing on the wrong thing here.
They determined that she suffered some type of massive head trauma, ultimately leading to her death.
Oh, she got beat to death.
The residents of Fairfield, Iowa are sent reeling. Who could possibly have some motive to hurt such a positive light in their community?
There's plenty.
She was one of those teachers to proudly show off cards and letters that she'd received from former students at Fairfield High, where she'd been teaching Spanish for 9 years. It's impossible for them to imagine how such a wonderful person could meet such a gruesome fate. It doesn't take long for investigators to find the murderer, though, and the news shakes everyone to their core. A 16-year-old boy named Willard Miller admits to watching his friend, Jeremy Goodell, attack Mrs. Graber with a baseball bat before taking her life and helping conceal the body. Around this time, while the local community is still trying to process the idea that a pair of teenagers could commit such a brutal crime, a witness that knows Jeremy but didn't partake in the killing comes forward with a conversation they shared together on Snapchat.
Okay, he made a very important point. How could a pair of teenagers do such a thing? A lot of people underestimate the capacity of teenagers. A lot of people simply will dismiss teenagers as still just children, and they will over infantilize what is essentially young adults in the making. So yes, we're gonna watch. Let me open this. Yes. So yeah, no. I can think of like there are so many reasons why a fucked up person would kill a wonderful person. Simple as. There are so many reasons. Envy being one of them. Like, there are people who are just jealous that the other person is legitimately happy, and they will go for it. How do I know this? Because I'm from Guatemala and I've seen it. It happens all the time over there. You will see somebody that is legitimately happy, and they get killed by some random person. Premeditated, all the things, because they were happy and the other person wasn't. Yeah.
These chilling messages detail every aspect of the murder, from the plan to the attack, ending with the boys' attempt to cover it all up afterward. However, in spite of their initial efforts to conceal the corpse, the boys are tempted to tell someone. Anyone. Why? Well, your guess is as good as mine, but the two most likely scenarios are the boys are looking to brag about the murder of Mrs. Graber, or they simply cannot take the mental gymnastics that is dealing with that level of guilt.
Yeah.
And while I know these motives reveal two very different perspectives on the boys, the best I can give you is my theories, because many details of the case are still sealed up. A classmate of Willard and Jeremy mentions overhearing a heated argument one of the boys had with Mrs. Graber over a bad grade that they wanted changed. Another student mentions Willard became particularly aggressive when talking about his dislike of his Spanish teacher. When the boys' homes are searched, they find the blood-soaked clothes that they wore on that night, as well as the baseball bat used in the killing. During Willard's line of questioning, he admits that he was the one to supply the wheelbarrow, and witnesses describe seeing a male figure pushing a wheeled object through the park at around midnight on November 2nd. Security footage shows Mrs. Graber pulling into the park on November 2nd at around 4 o'clock in the afternoon for a usual walk. 40 minutes pass by, and someone can be seen getting into her car and driving away, with a pickup truck following closely behind. At this point, it's pretty clear what happened and who's responsible. The boys are arrested and held on $1 million bond. Almost immediately, the defense team moves to have the boys tried as juveniles because, if convicted, they would serve less than 2 years in a correctional facility before being released at the age of 18.
I understand the defense, the job of the defense is to advocate for this. No. No. Once you're 16, just go for it. It ain't never gonna happen. We're forgiving crimes. Being an interest to slavery a la Warhammer Imperium style is the way to say it should exist. Psychosis. Welcome to today. And you and I share a similar opinion. I have advocated for, instead of the death penalty, communism. Sentence these people to communism. Taxed at 100%. They work in whatever they work. They live in facilities that they have to pay for. And then the rest, taxed at 100%. That's my opinion for these types of crimes.
However, this idea doesn't sit too well.
I don't think it would work too well, but yeah.
And he decides to have them tried as adults instead. But despite the boys being treated as adults in the eyes of the court, it's very unlikely that they'll spend life behind bars due to Iowa law. Essentially, these laws prevent the court from sentencing someone under the age of 18 to life in prison without parole because they see it as cruel and unusual punishment.
Was it not cruel and unusual to beat up your Spanish teacher to death with a baseball bat? Yeah.
The exact amount of time they're set to serve is still unknown, but luckily the case takes place in a few months, so we'll know pretty soon.
Oh, it's an ongoing case as of this video.
The community is still grieving.
From 2 years ago, so it probably
turn a tragic
already
event
finished
into a positive outcome. The student council and faculty at Fairfield High organized a fundraising walk to honor the park that she loved so much. It took place just last month, and the proceeds went to a scholarship fund set up in Mrs. Graber's name. The horrific death of Nohema Graber is a hard thing to come to terms with, because we, her family, and the community still know little about what drives a couple of teenagers to do something so brutal.
I can think of so many reasons. Mainly because I understand the mind of a troubled individual. So, easy to be sentenced to death, in my opinion, these guys. I am against the death penalty in general. I consider the death penalty to not be punishment enough. And Psychosis, how you doing? Welcome to the day. It's been a while. I consider the death penalty to not be enough. That's my opinion. I don't think the death penalty is enough. Death penalty is letting them off too easy. I am for indentured servitude in these cases. At best. For something like this, I would say they absolutely should get an ankle brace after turning 18 and be under watch. Yeah, go ahead, Germany. Yeah, like something like that. Like they need ankle bracelet. Yeah, taxed at 100%. There you go. Penalty kind of something for people that have something. Death penalty is for people that have something to lose, and the problem is everyone has something to lose. It has to be way too much. So, yeah, no, I don't consider the death penalty to be a just enough punishment. That's my opinion. That's my opinion. I think there are better punishments out there, more fitting, suitable punishments. Like these two kids, yeah, they should get, they should do the hardest possible labor, bringing as much money as they possibly can for the rest of their lives, and that get taxed at 100%. If you're a homeless person with nothing to lose, more likely you could have them do really bad crimes. Yeah, and that's why I say like it's not something that you would be able to enforce uniformly, and it doesn't. It's emotional gratification as masquerading as punishment, because it is emotionally gratifying for the families and the people who want to see these people punished to see these people get killed. In my opinion, not good enough. That is not justice. That's emotional gratification.
But what we do know is that as these killers sit behind bars, they're staring down the possibility of spending the rest of their lives in prison. Whatever's going on in those heads is anybody's guess, but I sincerely hope they feel some sort of remorse.
Yeah, usually it's petty crime what homeless people do. Usually, like, let's not include, like, California and New York into these. Like, let's talk, like, general overall. Because, like, for example, the city I'm in, we have one homeless guy. Everyone loves him. Like, the guy just doesn't want a house, and that's it. He doesn't bother anyone. And the guy, he doesn't steal. He's not a criminal. He just doesn't have a house. And I've seen him, like, hanging out at the bar with a bunch of the others. And this is a middle-class neighborhood. Like, this is an affluent, middle-class, like, everyone lives in houses kind of neighborhood. And there's, like, apartment buildings that are fairly nice. That kind of thing. There's a bunch of luxury apartments around here. That kind of stuff. And this guy, I've seen this guy. Like, sometimes I've gone out on walks. And I see this guy. Homeless guy. He's just a homeless guy. And he's hanging out in the bar, having a good time with a couple of, like, soccer dads. So, is it an old homeless man? Yeah, I would say early 60s. So, not old, but yeah, fairly old. I'm not saying all homeless people are bad people. I was just trying to set an example. I understand your point. Yeah, I understand your point. And, we don't live in Warhammer, so, going the Corvus Corax, fucking, not Corvus, the Conrad Kurz way of, any crime is punished by being skinned and being murdered in the most horrifying way. Yeah, no. Homeless people have plenty to lose, can have families, friends, and animals. Because, yeah, lack of money is not lack of reasons to live, which is why I'm making the point of this guy. This guy is friends with, like, half the town. I'm pretty sure. I don't speak enough Hungarian, but I have yet to see anyone, because I've seen him, like, at the supermarket and whatnot, and everyone always lights up when he's around. They always do. Like, I see the cashiers, and I see him walk out, and they have this endearing smile of, oh, this fucker again. Look at that guy go. Look at that guy go. Like, it's not the look of disgust that you would see from many people. It's a look of, like, they love this guy. They love this guy. He's like a minor celebrity over here. It's insane. It's insane. So yeah, you will have homeless people like that. You will have homeless people who are in a bit more of a desperate situation that will resort to petty crime. That's more of the like poverty-driven homeless people. So we must protect that homeless man at all costs. I'm pretty sure the local police does that. Yeah, like over here in Hungary, it's illegal to be homeless in winter. It's a misdemeanor, so it doesn't go on your criminal record, but it is so that homeless people have somewhere with heating to sleep at. So, I manage homeless people in different countries way different. Like in the US, is mostly because of drugs. Nowadays, it is. Nowadays in the US, it's been very much driven, especially by the fentanyl thing. Fentanyl and opioids. Like, those have been the two big drivers of homelessness in a lot of these places, especially in like California and New York. We've seen that a lot lately. So statistically, most people in the US become homeless due to medical costs or get addicted after. Yeah, I have friends from Boston who either know of or were in that situation where they were part of the opioid epidemic, where they were prescribed opioids and they got addicted and they lost everything because of that, or their parents lost everything, or their uncle lost everything, stuff like that. So yeah, very different reasons. Because from what I understand, this homeless guy here in my town, he just doesn't want a house. He's a free soul, so he doesn't want a house and that kind of stuff. Thank the Sackler family for it. I'm gonna thank Big Pharma for that shit. Like, Big Pharma always engaging in some sort of fucking scam like that. So yeah, no, in the US is that a lot of it is that. So yeah, it's not good. It's not good. It's not good. Anyway, let's continue watching this. I think it's this ad.
Before I get into today's final story, I'm super excited to tell you guys about Hunt a Killer. This murder mystery box is one of the most unique and challenging games I've played in my entire life. It was really cool putting my detective skills to use, and it's actually really fun to play with your friends, boyfriend, girlfriend, family, whoever.
Is this like Cluedo for adults?
And I am stoked. Honestly, it feels super similar to escape rooms, and they give you pieces of evidence and basically send you down this rabbit hole of what it really feels like to solve a true crime case. If you want to check it out, go to huntakiller.com/JackNeil. Make sure you use my link though, because you get a $10 discount, so it'd be kind of silly not to.
We still have to play the Zero Escape series, because that series is thriller, mystery, branching storylines, and escape rooms. The gameplay is escape rooms plus like graphic novel type of thing. So we definitely we so have to play it. We so have to play it eventually, though. Eventually, like it's been a while, and we don't have it in the YouTube channel yet, so we definitely have to.
Anyway, let's get back to the video.
Yes, thank you.
It's May 26, 2000, and the students of Lake Worth Middle School eagerly await the last bell of the year. 13-year-old Nathaniel Brazil arrives with a bouquet of flowers to give his crush to leave a lasting impression on her before summer break begins. Nathaniel's literally in really high spirits, although saying goodbye feels a little bittersweet, especially since a few days ago, his
I don't know what we're
crush
gonna play
had
today.
His very first kiss. Pretty much everyone in school gets along with Nate. He's an honor student, but his grades have been slipping a bit lately since his mom's been recently diagnosed with breast cancer.
Yeah, but have you considered the fact that he is literally Brazil? See, I don't know what we're gonna play today yet. I need to figure that out.
He's the type of kid to watch over the rest of the class while the teacher steps out for a minute, but still, lately, he's been going through a lot. Luckily, though,
his
today
mom
seems
has
like
cancer.
a perfect opportunity to let off a
and
little
he
bit.
is literally Brazil.
Everyone is anxiously awaiting the sound of the bell, but it's drowned out by a gunshot. 35-year-old Barry Grundle,
God fucking damn it.
favorite teacher, is the victim. And the killer? Well, it's the same mild-mannered kid who a few hours ago was carrying a bouquet of flowers but is now carrying a .25 caliber handgun. Now, what events could have possibly taken place to turn a seemingly innocent kid into a cold-blooded killer? Well,
1, he is literally Brazil. 2, so the escape game thing, Zero Escape, that one eventually, because it hasn't been long enough since I last played it, and it's one of those, it's a trilogy, and it's brilliant. It's a brilliant series of games. It's one of my favorites. Okay, 1, this kid is literally Brazil. 2, his mom is dying. 2, he is from Brazil. I don't know if he's from Brazil, but his last name is literally Brazil. So, still. Oh, God.
Well, it starts with a water balloon fight. Nate and his friends are throwing them back and forth at each other in the cafeteria, but the fun comes to an end when they're escorted out of the building and suspended from the school. As they're making their way out with the assistant principal, one of Nathaniel's friends overhears him say something along the lines of killing the assistant principal. He's infuriated for kicking him out and not giving him the chance to say goodbye to his crush. Nathaniel then proceeds to go home, steal his grandfather's handgun, and make his way back into the school.
That was your catalyst? That was your catalyst. That was the climax. That was the threshold pushing event. You didn't get to say goodbye to your crush. I want to say so many things to this kid.
However, when he enters the building, he heads to Mr. Grono's classroom where his crush is sitting among her fellow English students. The teacher answers the door and Nathaniel demands that his friends be allowed in the hall so
why not just call her? It's 2000. It's the year 2000. Mobile phones were not that common amongst people. Like keeping up with people in the year 2000 was really difficult. Like, unless they lived in your same neighborhood, really difficult. Not sure why nowadays kids go guns first. Like, when this isn't the year 2000 though. That a team would just fight. Yeah, no, and this is the year 2000 though. This is 25 years ago. She says 25 years ago. So yeah, no, like keeping up with people, because I went through this back in my days in school. Like, it wasn't until high school that we had smartphones and whatnot. So in elementary school, yeah, you wouldn't know about any of your friends during the end of the year vacation. In Guatemala, the school year is January through October. So, Geese Pains, welcome to today. Today, we're watching this true crime. And this kid, who is literally Brazil, kills a teacher with a gun because he kicked them out of school before the kid could say goodbye to his crush on the last day of school. This is in the year 2000. This is 25 years ago, by the way. So, yeah.
Bye. Mr. Grono calmly refuses his offer, but suggests that he come into the classroom and chat with them here. But Nate's the kind of kid that conceals his emotion. Not really the best at expressing himself, so being vulnerable in front of people that he barely knows is practically impossible. Nathaniel then proceeds to raise the gun in the air and asks again if he can speak with his friends in private. But despite literally staring death in the face, Mr. Grono calmly refuses his offer and again invites Nate inside. Nathaniel cocks the hammer. Mr. Grono stands his ground. The gun goes off. To everyone's...
Okay. So the kid is literally Brazil. He's going through a rough time at home. All of these kids have been, it seems. He is literally Brazil. He wants to see his crush. And this teacher, stuck up imbecile, sees that the kid has a gun. Can I talk to my friends? The short answer is, yeah. But put the gun away, please. I can see the reasoning being, if he goes in, he's going to kill them. So that's why he stands his ground. But I can't see too much other. Kid was most likely mentally ill and the refusal, I know you hate that word, triggered him to become homicidal, which does happen in people. Yeah, this seems like it was a very spontaneous things. So, probably able to separate him from the others to save them. Yeah, I'm thinking that. I'm thinking that. Because if he closes the door or something like that, then, yeah, I'm thinking now. So, yeah, no, I walk back calling him an idiot. He likely tried to put himself between the kids and the kid with a gun. So, because at this point, this is the year 2000. Columbine wasn't that. It was still fairly fresh in people's minds. So, yeah, he sees a kid that drew a gun on him at school. He's likely thinking, okay, let's try and minimize this. We don't want another Columbine, which might have been what he just did.
Horror, the beloved teacher and father of two falls to the floor with a bullet in his head, with Nathaniel's crush and her friends standing right next to him. It takes a second, but Nate soon begins to process the caliber of what he's done, so he bolts. As he's running, he sees a passing teacher, points the gun at them, but doesn't shoot. He leaves the building and collapses not far down the street where an officer finds him. He immediately confesses, telling him everything, and is charged with first-degree murder. When the senseless killing hits the news, it sparks a controversial debate. When it comes to juvenile killers,
it is Brazil though. Violence by gun is more than an issue in. No, this is in the U.S. It's just that the kid's last name is Brazil. Hang on, I missed that bit here. Oi.
The news, it sparks a controversial debate. When it comes to juvenile killers like Nathaniel, should the state of Florida consider adult-sized punishments for minors who make adult-sized mistakes?
Good. And in this case,
life sentence an appropriate punishment for a 7th grader. During the trial, Nathaniel seems numb and appears emotionless. His defense team argues that he never actually meant to pull the trigger.
He sacrificed himself.
As for the fact that he brought a gun to the school in the first place, well, according to a child psychologist that testifies and the testimony of his mother, Nate had a pretty traumatic childhood. He grew up watching his mother be physically abused by multiple husbands and boyfriends, and as he got older, he would intervene to protect his mom.
Once again, the problem a lot of times isn't the person, it's the person's parents. And in this case, the stepdads. Oh, that's brutal, dude. Oh my god, that's so brutal. Yeah. Yeah, he was well aware of what he was doing. No, from what we saw here, he did not think this through. At all. I don't think he was thinking at any point. He still did it. He still needs to be, still should have been tried and charged. I don't think he thought any of it through. He was blinded by whatever rage he had. He still did it. Needed to be tried and sentenced. But, yeah, childhood poverty and abuse. I'm not shooting my teacher. Yeah. So, the issue, again, a lot of the times is that, plus the lack of healing. And this kid was not healing.
Having spent many of his formative years in a violent, abusive environment, it would be reasonable to assume that he had no other
crime of passion, not calculated like the other two. Yeah,
than intimidation.
Absolutely, a crime of
what's more
passion.
Intimidating than a gun?
Excuse me.
Further, Nate's lawyer argued
something more intimidating than a gun. Several guns being pointed at you with people with the uniforms, usually black-cladded uniforms. Maybe a tank. I would say a tank is more intimidating than a gun. But that's besides the point here.
To kill his favorite teacher. In fact, Mr. Gruno was the only person he trusted, as evidenced by a letter Nathaniel had written to him describing his suicidal thoughts.
So yeah, he wasn't thinking.
He never intended to pull the trigger and was under the impression that the safety was on. All he wanted was to say goodbye to his friends.
Okay, so this gives us gun safety point number 1. Always treat a gun as if it is loaded. Never point a gun at something you are not intending to shoot or destroy. There were a couple of other ones. There were 4. There are 4. That's even worse. He was a friend. Jesus shit. Yeah, this is horrifying. But yeah, he was not thinking. He was not thinking. But yeah, 2 main points of gun safety. Always treat a gun like it's loaded. Never aim a gun at something that you're not intending to kill. There are two more. Shit, I need to look them up. I think this might fall... Maybe it's second degree. Second, third, or manslaughter. Homicide requires intent, which... You know, at the end of the day, he still pointed a gun at someone. Which... You still aimed a lethal weapon for which the purpose is killing at someone. That is very difficult to argue against, but I think manslaughter, maybe. Yeah.
To a troubled 13-year-old kid, it may have seemed like a good idea at the time, and as far as the comments about the assistant principal, probably just a kid's false bravado. However, the witnesses, as well as his classmates, are
someone gets a wrong house.
Many of them ask for the maximum sentence. The jury, however, throws out the first-degree charge in favor of a second-degree conviction, and on May 16th, 2001, Nathaniel Brazil is sentenced to 28 years in prison. The judge also orders Nate to attend anger management classes while getting his general education degree while behind bars. After release, he's set to have 2 additional years of house arrest, followed by 5 years of probation, and after that, maybe a glimmer of hope for rehabilitation.
That's in 2028.
For release when he's in his early 40s. Plenty of time to start over and begin a new life.
Oh,
right? Honestly, I doubt it. But the debate still continues.
We'll see how
juveniles are tried the same way as adults, by the time they've grown up, they've spent so much of their life in the prison system that the chances of rehabilitation are quite low. On the other hand,
and the culture shock of being dumped back into society.
Serious crimes need serious sentences, and a student pulling a loaded gun on a teacher is serious. Was this perfect storm of immature impulse combined with childhood trauma an excuse for Nate to take the life of someone he cared deeply about, or should he lose a good chunk of his life for taking someone else's?
Yes, short answer, yes.
Thoughts, and as always, stay spooky, YouTube.
And there you go. That was He Did Something Evil to His Teacher by Jack Neal. Good video, dude. I don't think we've ever reacted to something like this before. This was a very interesting watch. I don't think I've ever been too much into true crime, but these were interesting stories. And yes, at the end of the day, all very troubled kids with either little access, no access to mental health, or the mental health was not enough. The mental health, treatments were not enough. That is the kind of sentence that the shitheads that killed the Spanish teacher should have gotten. Yeah, absolutely. Although the Spanish ones, as of this video, this was 2 years ago, I think that case might have gone to trial. He said later that year. So this case likely went to trial by 2023. So I would actually going to be easier on this one's the sentence, but it could have actually been a racial element of this. Average black men get higher sentence than white men for the same crimes. That, and we would have to actually have seen the rest of it. So yeah, it's just this kid was given a very bad one. So yeah, what if someone gets robbed at their own house? Are they not to shoot the robber? Depending on the jurisdiction, I for one am on the castle doctrine. So if somebody breaks into your house, you don't know the motive of this person. And usually in these cases, you have to assume the worst, especially if you have a family. So in places like Texas, if somebody breaks into your house, you have the right to shoot that person to protect your property and your family because you don't know what the intent of that person is. There are places like New Jersey where you have a duty to flee, where if somebody breaks into your house, you have to leave the house. I disagree with that. I agree with the castle doctrine. If you break into my house, if you force your way into my house, I have to assume the worst because I don't know who you are. I don't know why you're here. I don't know what you're doing in my house. I never invited you in. Yeah, you're getting the gun. So now the person heading out of the house, you can't shoot them. Yes, once the person starts fleeing, then yeah, you are only allowed to shoot them while they are still a believable a credible threat. So I'm on the castle doctrine, but I would say you do still have to have proof that it was a break-in because the castle doctrine was abused. Some cases where people were led and then police called as if it was a break-in. Yeah, which is why I very much favor home surveillance. because then you have that kind of evidence. Dennis Goldis has its return. Nice, annoying demo. Welcome to today. How you doing? So you should have dragged them back. Jesus Christ. There you go. But yeah, good video. Good stuff. I'm gonna subscribe to him because this was really good. Thank you for sharing this. All right, we're gonna take a quick